trying to press all the buttons.
Yeah, one of those, and he probably had a, probably next to Trustee in the back.
I'm the lighting for taking tonight. It should be. But the lights here for some reason aren't working. Sometimes they come on by themselves. Is it fun? This one's working. The red light on? Push the light. Yeah, turn right side in there. You won't be able to use it.
You stand for the place. To be led by the ever popular and famous returner exile, Peter Moscow. Hey, Peter. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Peter, welcome home. Question, is this like coming back to watch the theater of the absurd again? In the city, how many years did you sit over there?
7.
Good seeing you, my friend. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How long are you in town for?
Probably another week or so. When the work's still here.
Well, that's right. You're a FEMA guy, right?
A lot of people need help. They get it too.
Just a reminder that if there's an emergency, we exit out the rear of the building. Please go to your vehicle. Wait at your vehicle, but please do not leave or get in until so directed by emergency service personnel. The exit's at the front, in the rear of the building. Take your choice on the way out, but I wouldn't go where the smoke is. If you are a smoker, just again a reminder, it's a non-smoking facility. You must go outside. Mr. Crosby.
Oh, yeah, just that one.
Do that and another.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we have an approval for the board meeting minutes of November 13th, 2012, please.
Anybody want to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
I'm just one typo. I could say I did typo.
I'll second.
Any other changes, Joe, if you find it?
Yeah, sorry about that.
All in favor?
Right.
So carried. I'm sorry, Ron.
Okay, I'm going to do my report and then I have to introduce our audit firm. So we'll start with the bills. For the period of November 16th through the 26th, they total $394,826.21. The 5 largest of those: number 1, New York State Employee Health monthly premium, $102,811.31. Number 2, Eastern Resource for landfill charges, $24,459.31. Global Moncello diesel fuel, $9,816.90. Sprague Energy for gasoline costs, $8,879.10. And Home Depot, $7,347.05. Beach Club doors, and they total $153,313.67. If I could have approval.
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Billy, the beach club doors, after the storm, so we're back to FEMA. Was that, were they replaced because of damage in the storm? Or
No, they're replaced because they were due to be replaced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can't live on a storm.
I can't say that, no.
Should have. Okay. One small item, a budget transfer from concert miscellaneous, $150, to concert services, $150. It's for the Christmas parade expenses. If I could have approval.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I have a request for approval to contract communications consulting service to do an audit of the village's phone lines. What they do, they go back and see if we've ever been overcharged. It won't cost us a dime unless they find something, and then they get 40% of whatever savings that we get. So we get 60% or something, we wouldn't have you, if we don't bring them in. So if I could have a.
Are we a suspect of overcharge?
You always are, you know. Big business like we have, why not?
You might have, you know, take check bookings, there might be deadlines.
Right.
We're paying for certain lines that we discontinued use of over the years.
Good.
And we're still being charged for those kinds of things. They look at your whole system, the way your system is laid out, your long distance costs, you know, comparable, or is the plan that we're in, one that is right for us. You know, so, but the biggest thing is it's a no charge unless.
Yeah, unless they find some. I used them for my bank years ago, and not this company, but another company, and they say they found a lot of money.
No, it makes sense, because for instance, at the beach club, we only use the phone 3 months out of the year,
Right.
and yet it costs us more to disconnect it than it does to keep it on all
Right.
year, which is
So,
absurd.
see what they can find.
Yeah. Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Okay, we have with us tonight Chris Reno and Peter Rodriguez. They're partners at Cullen Danowski. They're our audit firm. We did have our audit completed as of 5/31/12. And Chris is going to talk a little bit about the audit, and then Peter's going to say a few words. So
Let's close it.
you're on the air, guys.
Well, I'm real quick.
Yeah.
Just explain what this audit is about compared to the audit that we had.
Yeah, the audit that the state came in is a procedures and policy audit, basically. What this audit is, they audit our financial condition for the whole year, and we contracted them. We are gonna go out for, with an RFP again. We have to do it every so often. But they will attest to our financial strength, and that's what they do.
Now, this audit is usually bond, borrow?
Yes, definitely. You're on the air, guys. Thank you.
So, I'm Chris Reno. This is my partner, Peter Rodriguez, the firm Cullen Danowski. Our firm has 7 partners, and the reason Peter's here tonight is he was the original partner in charge of the audit. Then after a couple of years, I switched over and became the lead partner on the engagement. The Public Housing Authority, which is part of your CDA opponent unit, requires partner rotation. So that's why 3 years back, as part of the engagement, and if we get through the RFP process, he'll probably be doing the audit following year, and then we'll switch back and forth. Because the majority of our practice is auditing villages, school districts, fire districts, and whatnot. So this is Peter Rodriguez. He's going to talk about the audit process.
Good evening, everybody. Hi. Again, it's Pete Rodriguez. Our firm is, Chris mentioned, 7 partners. I've been with the firm about 30 years or so. We've been doing audits of school districts, fire district, villages, libraries. That's the main concentration we have. I'm here to give you the results of your audit. Okay, but a little bit of background. Some of the stuff that I was going to say was already mentioned. We're known as external auditors. Okay, our job is to audit your financial statements. So as a distinction between the controls office and looking at your controls and trying to improve the controls that you have in place, our job is to express an opinion, and that opinion lets the reader know how they can rely on your financial statements. Okay, based on our opinion, they can then have a greater amount of reliance on the financial statements if it's a positive opinion. We follow our auditing standards, generally accepted auditing standards. That's our professional standards that guide us as to how to do an audit of a governmental entity. We also follow government auditing standards, which requires us to report on your internal controls over financial reporting, as well as compliance with laws, regulations. That's part of a government audit. And we also, with your Section 8 housing, we have federal monies. So there's a single audit that's involved, and we follow Circular A-133, which is issued by the U.S. Office of Budget and Management. So those are our guidelines that we have to follow. Again, we need to plan and perform the audit to determine that there's no material misstatements in your financial statements. Everything we do is on a test basis. We don't look at 100% of the transactions, but we have to gather evidence that supports the numbers on your financial statements that give us assurance that they're fairly stated and there's no material misstatements. And that we express that through our opinions. So we've issued 3 or 4 different reports. I'll go through those with you. But on your basic financial statements, we've issued our report. Our opinion on the financials is what's known as an unqualified opinion. Okay, that means that, before I even say that, you prepare your financial statements on a regulatory basis. Okay, you're not preparing statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. That will require all additional statements above and beyond what you have, management discussion analysis, and it's not really necessary. The regulatory base, you're following the controller's requirements, and we're reporting that your financial statements present fairly in accordance with the requirements of the controller's office. That's what's known as an unqualified opinion. That means that the person who's reading this statement knows that the statements are free material misstatements, and they're prepared in accordance with the regulatory basis of accounting. So it's an unqualified opinion. Government auditing standards also, as part of that same document, towards the back of the document, we have 2 reports that we issue. I mentioned one is a report on internal controls or financial reporting. Part of it is to look at your controls. Government auditing standards require us to report, and we reported that during the audit we did not come up with any, there were no material weaknesses in your control structure that needed to be reported on the government auditing standards. So you have no material weaknesses in your controls or financial reporting, and also with compliance with laws and regulations, we noted no instances of non-compliance during our audit. So your financial statements, when the reader reads that, they're going to read that you have an unqualified opinion, everything's fairly stated, there's no material misstatements in your financial statements, and it's prepared under the regulatory method of accounting, which is required by the Controller's Office. You have no material weaknesses in your internal controls, and we noted no instances of non-compliance, all positive opinions. We also issued a report on the Justice Court Fund. That's just on a cash basis. That's money collected, money dispersed. Okay, that's, again, not a GAAP financial statement. There's no receivables and payables and things of that nature. It's all what I collected, what I expended. We audited those. We issued an unqualified opinion on that. Everything's fairly stated in accordance with the cash basis of accounting. And we also issued a single audit report. Okay, the single audit, based on the federal grants that you have one major grant, which is the Section 8 housing vouchers. We audited that grant. What you're auditing when you audit a grant is you're auditing for compliance with the federal requirements. Okay, we know how much they paid you, we know how much you spent, but now did you spend it properly? Did you spend it in accordance with allowable cost? Did you follow the compliances for that particular grant? And we've issued our opinion that this is an actual opinion on compliance. It's an unqualified opinion that you have complied with the compliance requirements for that particular grant. So again, that's very positive. There's also a report on internal controls over compliance. We don't issue an opinion on the internal controls, but we have to go through the internal controls. What controls do you have to ensure compliance with federal regulations? And again, similar to the other report, no material weaknesses in your internal controls over compliance matters. And we've audited the schedule of federal expenditures. That's the money that you spend, the federal grant money that you spend, and that was an unqualified opinion, and that's fairly stated, scheduled in conjunction with the financial statements. So everything was very positive. We also issued a management letter as part of our audit. There were no current year comments. We did follow up on some of the other comments. There's still a few comments that need to be addressed by the administration. And that's really my report for this evening. Excuse me. Any questions?
Give it to the board here. What's called an unassigned fund balance history. It's basically a worksheet. Would you just go through those numbers?
Sure.
So the public has an understanding what our expenses are, what our income is, and where we stand with a fund balance or so.
Well, the number that you're talking about, this unassigned fund balance, is what is on your general fund balance sheet, and it's what's, we'll say, left over. You know, it's unassigned to anything. It's not restricted for a specific purpose. It's not being allocated to next year's budget to balance the budget. So, you know, being that we've been the auditors for a number of years, we went back to 2007 and just did a history as far as what your unassigned fund balance was, your revenues, what you call it, over budget, and your expenditures under budget. And so it's just a history. And, you know, going through, you know, we're starting out with like 1.5 million, and now we're up to 3.4. And historically, that's about, 30% of your next year's budget. So, you're in excellent financial condition right now. And basically, that was the crux of the report. It's just a summary of going through the financial history of your general fund unassigned fund balance.
And that represents also the fact that we removed $480,000 last year out of this fund balance surplus. This is tax stabilization.
Right, correct.
And from what I read here, just public education, the total budget was $11,136,333. We received revenues over budget. We received $417,000. Expenditures and encumbrance under budget, we spent was $534,000, $500,000 less than we projected to spend. Between those two numbers, you're looking at close to $1 million that we're able to save out of this year's budget.
Yeah, so, so with that, it's good, because you're not, overestimating your revenues and underestimating your expenditures.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
What's important about that $3.4 million, that's basically called our surplus. And our bonding agencies, that's what they look at when we go out for bonds. And that's why we have such a good bond rating right now, and why it costs us very inexpensive money to borrow. Our rates are very low. It's because we have such a surplus. They want us to be at minimum 15% of our budget. 20 is good, 30 is excellent. So we're in very good financial condition.
Right. That was the purpose of putting the spreadsheet together, that, historically, you've been maintaining that 30% mark, no significant fluctuations. It's good.
Any other questions to the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks,
Okay,
gentlemen.
thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the one other thing too is that there's a person in here that makes us, she's not here tonight, is she?
Yes, she
She's
is.
hiding over there, right?
Ms. Munn?
She keeps
You're
us
hiding.
honest.
Her face is turning
My
red as we
deputy,
speak.
Amber. Good job.
Yes.
She keeps everything in line. She's the one that created the 417 over budget on revenues. She worked to keep us lean with $500,000 under on expenditures. It's no small task when you deal in a village. It's pretty complex.
Oh, yeah.
And we know some of the issues that we've had over the years, but those are things that happen. But when you take a look on a year-to-year basis, from 07 to 12, and where we stand compared to some of our neighbors to the east and the west of us, as Mr. Reno would mention to us inside, is he's got villages with nickels and dimes left in it at the end of the year. And they're scraping to put together what they need to do for next year. So we're in very good financial shape, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate Anne Marie's hard work, the hard work of the staff. Ron's guidance is immeasurable, and these gentlemen have done a nice job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask that Treasurer, Mr. Kwaszak report back to us addressing the recommendations
Yeah.
in the audit?
Yeah.
Sure, definitely.
Thank you.
I will.
Yeah.
And any questions anybody has of Chris or Peter, you can contact them directly or call me and I'll set up a meeting, whatever you need.
You've done a great job. Thank you.
These will be available to the public tomorrow, say in the afternoon. If you wish, the copies will be made. Anybody would like to get a
I
copy?
don't know if I have them in the building, I can get them from Chris.
Okay.
Double check.
Yeah, check with, see if you can get us.
You can get as many as you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They may not be here tomorrow, but I can certainly get anybody to leave us one.
Perfect. I'm going to ask Jack, because he may have to jump out of here, and he's got an issue that he wants to bring up that we may not get to when we go around.
Mr. Mayor. As everybody knows, every 2 weeks I tout the success of the Patchogue Theater and how it's come a long way over the past 8 or 9 years. from an organization that was deeply in debt and mismanaged to one that is now fiscally in pretty good shape and managed like a professional theater should be managed. One of the issues with the theater has been over the years is that funding and finding sponsorships and people to put some money into the theater, which they're pretty successful in doing with their program, $2,500 here, $2,500 there, and ticket sales to keep themselves moving. As the audit shows, nearly every year the theater gets an excellent audit, but profits above the audit are not really where they should be. And that's based on a lot of things. The fact that the theater does not have a major benefactor, except for the Village of Patchogue, which has a debt service of about $350,000 a year to pay for the theater, and the fact that it's our building. When the air conditioner goes or the roof leaks or things such as that, the Village of Patchogue takes care of it. It's our building. Recently, the theater has been approached by at least one organization who would like to be a major fund source for the theater. And it's a fund source that would last a number of years, not just here's a check for a certain amount of money. And the theater has been discussing that with this group. I've been involved with the talks, the mayor's been involved with the talks, and this is to create major funding or an endowment or something of that order for the theater. Beyond that, the theater is looking to put together a money-raising committee to go out beyond this opportunity and to raise money at a high level to fund the theater over the next 20 years or so. In these discussions, what came up was that these major funding sources and grant sources want to see a business plan, particularly in this case, a 5-year business plan on the theater. And when people want to give this kind of money, they're not just going to write a check and hand it over to you. They want to see where you're going with your organization. So, in discussion with the theater and with the mayor and I, we realized how important this is to the future of our downtown, to keep the theater successful and bring it to the next level. And it's not only bring it to the next level financially, but bring it to the next level as far as programming goes, as far as advertising goes, and all those kind of things that theaters need to run. Looking over the management policies, looking over the fiscal policies, looking over a plan to advertise and market the theater in the years ahead. And the mayor and I, as I said, in discussion with the theater and other people who are interested in putting money into the theater, since the Village of Patchogue is the #1 benefactor of the theater, it behooves us to be involved in this process. It gives us the opportunity to work with the theater people and work with our funding sources to secure the theater and make sure that it's a successful venue for years to come. With that in mind, the mayor and I and the theater board did a search for a company to put together a 5-year business plan for the theater. And that company, which we spoke to, is a local company. I think are they from Patchogue or?
Yeah, they're in the,
East Patchogue.
yeah, they're in,
Yeah.
where Brian Egan was, it was open to building at 275.
They're a Patchogue business. They have done a lot of work for the Patchogue Medford School District. They've had a successful history in working on getting grants for the Patchogue Medford School District, for BOCES, and for the village, correct?
Yeah, in fact, they wrote the grant. They got us the backhoe truck and the tower truck. They put together that grant, which was $500,000.
Yeah. The company's named NIA Solutions, and
One of the owners, that fellow Winchell, lived on the corner of Ryder and Barber for 40 years. And Larry McCullough, he's a Patchogue High School guy, and his family's been very involved in the village. So they understand and know the village, and know who we are as a community.
And having spoken to the board, the theater board, of course, they're all ready to go with this, and they could use the funding. And I think it's very important that the village board, village taxpayer have a hand in this process. Since it is our building, it is our theater, and we want to see it develop to the next level of a premier entertainment venue. So,
And it was what?
so NIA Solutions came back to us with a plan for a 5-year plan, a strategic planning element to it, and creating documents which will help us work with these companies, and hopefully, which I think would be a good way to get money for the theater. And they're asking for $6,600 to pay for this, and we have the money in the theater budget.
Yep.
We have a line in the theater budget for whatever the theater needs as far as these kind of things go. So I'm just going to ask the rest of the board to approve that the village spend this money in order to assist the theater in getting grants and funding in the future.
Motion?
Any questions?
Yeah, it's a proposal to hire NIA Solutions to draft a 5-year plan for the theater.
Yes, it's to hire them to draft a 5-year plan and to work with us in assistance for getting funding, additional funding for the theater. Your motion?
They'll be working with us. When you say us, you
Yeah.
mean the
We can all
village
have-
board is going to be involved in this process?
Yes, you'll be interviewed. Yeah, we'll all be interviewed. The theater board will be interviewed,
And then they'll have a number of workshops themselves with them.
to create this plan.
It's a great idea, I think, you know, to try and solicit sponsors. I fully agree that they would want to see what our long-range goals are. What I'd also be hopeful for is that perhaps, as opposed to just an annual audit, that perhaps we can get some more input or reports from the theater board itself. You know, they do a good job in trying to find shows to fill that theater throughout the course of the year. And you know, I appreciate the reports that you provide this board. It's nice to see where you may be going, but I'd also like to take a look at how successful some of these acts have been that they've been able to hire, that have come to our theater. You know, the Elvis shows, the theater, you know, dance recitals and things like that. It would be helpful to get, as opposed to just a once a year audit, you know, perhaps a better breakdown as to what shows are being more marketable and successful than others. And you know, it's just some side commentary that I'd like to see a little bit more, I guess, reporting done, that the village residents who are shouldering a big burden on this theater, that they get a little bit more information about the success of the theater. So I would second that motion to look to hire NIA to craft this plan for the village.
Second, Trustee Green. Any other comments by the board? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. hearings.
Just before I start with the public hearing, I just checked with Chris Reno from Cullen Danowski. He's going to send me a PDF version tomorrow, so anybody that's interested in the budget can just email me, and I'd be happy to get it. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing be held on Monday, November 26, 7:30, 14 Baker Street, Patchogue, New York, by the Village Board of the Incorporated Village of Patchogue, to consider a request for a special permit for property located at 257 Waverly Avenue, United Storage. At said public hearing, any person interested will be given the opportunity to be heard. And the gentleman in the front row is he representing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. I'm here representing United Storage, located on 257 Waverly Avenue. We're respectfully requesting that you renew the 12 parking permits.
Your name, please?
It's Ben Tablum.
Ben, spell your last name for
It's
me.
T as in Thomas, E as in Edward, J, B as in boy, L, U, M as in Mary. I'm from the law firm Brody, Bernard and Branch.
And where is your firm located?
We're at 250 Lexington Avenue in Manhattan. So as I said, we're requesting that you renew the 12 special parking permits that were issued to United Storage. I understand there's been a lapse, and the permits are now expired, and they'd like to get them back. They're integral to their business.
I know there was some concern registered by some of the neighbors about some of the uses of it, trailers, and people possibly sleeping back there and so forth. And that's where the concern came, and that's really probably reminded us what you had previously commit some of those issues themselves. I don't know, Jack, you
I can address those issues.
don't understand.
What's that?
You don't understand the vote.
But I'll have to abstain on the vote. This is in my backyard.
Okay.
Really in his backyard?
Really in my backyard. And there has been a number of issues, pretty much security issues. There was a gentleman who made that his home. I don't know if your client is aware of that, but our code enforcement officers were called on a regular basis. Unfortunately, this person was sleeping on the inside of the fence, and our code enforcement officers couldn't go inside. It seemed that this fellow also may have been sleeping inside the building. There's also a sign on there that says that no entry, gate entry after 10 o'clock. People regularly go in there after 10 o'clock. The boats that were stored were not covered. At one point in time, a taxi company was using it as their place to park their cars. So I would suggest that these things be cleared up. I mean, according to this, it says that vehicles must be fully screened from view from both Waverly Avenue and surrounding properties, which they are not. Vehicles must be stored inside a secure gated area. The taxi cabs were not.
This is, you're reading from what, the board minutes?
The original
Yes,
permit.
the original
The
permit.
original permit.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the
original
original, I'm
permit,
reading
no.
from the original permit.
Which I have.
And of course, the permit was expired, I guess, last October,
2011.
2011. And nobody from the business came to do it. Now, frankly, they're not bad neighbors. It's fairly quiet. There are some domestic disputes back there every now and then. I think when people are trying to get their stuff out, maybe their ex-wife or girlfriend or boyfriend doesn't want them to take it. And we've had to call, the police every now and then. But I don't want to make it sound like it's horrible stuff going on back there. We understand the nature of the business. And it's just that, being a village trustee and having it in my backyard, my neighbors come to me and they want to, from closing it down to making sure that all these things are taken care of. So I would hope that the business would keep an eye on these kind of things and make sure that this doesn't go on, and keep the security tighter, and to make sure that people aren't sleeping back there. I don't know what time your people leave, but frankly, you know, having people sleeping in their cars in there is not a good thing.
Absolutely.
And you know, it gives them a pretty good secure place to sleep, because there's a gate and they can do it, so.
I spoke to my client with regards to the person sleeping back there. They were aware of that. They indicated that they've taken care of it.
Yes.
If it hasn't been taken care of, I'll go back to them. And
Yeah, it seems to have been taken
Okay.
care of. I've
With,
stopped going over there at 11 o'clock at night.
with regards to the covering, they also told me that they'll cover with mesh or whatever's as required by the original permit. And if there've been any violations during the period since the permits have lapsed, that they're willing to pay. Really, whatever they can do, they're happy to work to get all these issues cleared up.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's, as I said, it's not a bad business, it just seems that they've been a little lax over the past few years.
They didn't indicate anything about the people coming in after 10 p.m. I'll
Yeah,
have to relay that back and see.
I've been there when it's
Okay.
happened. So, you know, I mean, I haven't said anything to any people there, of course, I'm not gonna interrupt them doing their thing. But, yeah, there seems to, they can key in or whatever it is after 10 o'clock. So if we can make sure that, that gate is locked securely, after 10 o'clock. Then I think then things will be fine.
Okay. Well, I'll go back to
Were
them.
there any violations this year?
I don't know, would it?
Yes, violations because they were operating without the special permit, so we did give a few violations, which they're due to come back to court tomorrow.
Do you know the amount?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But he was here last month, and they
Correct.
adjourned it to tomorrow,
Then he'll be back.
based on the
Okay.
fact that, you know, he may get his permit back tonight.
Okay.
Jack, it seems to me it's always easy to say you're sorry than it is to ask permission. And I've been sitting here for half a year and talking to you for longer than that about this person or organization that I see as a flagrant violator. And I'm quite dismayed that the applicant himself or herself is not here tonight to defend. And, you know, it's nice to have an attorney say, yes, we're going to be good. But, you know, I've heard about these people sleeping there, disturbing the neighbors. So I don't live anywhere near there. But, quite frankly, I'm going to vote against this. I guess I'm allowed to say that. I think that when an applicant behaves in the manner that this applicant behaves for at least a year, that they don't deserve the special permit that we gave them in the first place.
What is the terms of the permit? How long did that go? 2 years?
Well, it doesn't have to be.
Well,
That was the old permit, that would be up to the board's discretion. And in fairness, the gentleman that I spoke to has only been here for a few months. It's not the same people that originally applied, they're long gone.
Okay.
So he wasn't
I
even
was gonna-
aware. Okay.
As far as I understand it, my client took over from whoever was
Correct.
here in the past, and they are now playing catch-up.
It's just the
When did they
property
take over?
manager.
It was several months ago. I don't have the exact date, but I know that they took over and that they've been playing
Diligent.
catch-up, trying to remedy all these
I
past
will
issues.
admit that it has gotten better over
Okay.
the last few months. We haven't had any reports, except for the late, people getting
Okay.
in there late.
Other than fines and violations, what actions can we take as a board? Can we revoke the license if it's?
There is no license. We're here to permit it.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
saying if we
Can we revoke it?
grant it out,
It's not, there is no license. There's no special permit.
I'm saying if we grant the permit
The
tonight,
permit will allow them to do that.
Right.
what I'm asking is if in 3 or 4 months there's still problems with that place, can we revoke that permit, or do we have to wait for the length of the permit to run out?
Chris?
I believe the board does retain discretion about looking into it. I mean, you set forth the terms for the permit, and those terms are not abided by the applicant then.
Give them a 6-month permit.
The permit is for the storage of the vehicles and boats. I mean, he would continue to be allowed to operate as a storage facility,
Yes.
Right.
but without the benefit of the vehicles and boats.
What is usually is there a specific time for the lease of of a space for a boat or a vehicle? Like, do you sign a minimum or?
That I do not know.
Okay.
But we would certainly be amenable to entering into a shorter permit. If that's what needs to be
I
done.
feel that I'm a customer of the storage facility, and although I go there before 10, and I haven't lived there for the last couple of weeks.
In the doghouse
It gets
again,
cold,
Bill, huh?
it's getting a little cold. But I believe that this benefit of them having, using the storage for the vehicles and boats cannot be particularly financially advantageous to them. And, I don't know if we're actually going to be busting them if we don't allow it. So I think there's an occasional boat, a couple of campers and a couple of classic cars, none of which are covered, none of, unless you do it, so.
You said that he's only been in it for maybe 6 months on the outside.
I don't know the exact length of time, but I do know that they did take over from somebody else.
Now, this individual is the property manager, not the property owner.
That I do not know.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, yeah.
Okay.
He's the property manager.
Jack, do you see any of your residents?
No. One question I did have, and I do see it, the trailers that are parked there still have the propane tanks attached. Now, I don't know if that is a concern,
If they blow up.
They might blow up the tanks next door at the welding place.
Yeah, right. I don't know if, I don't think it's a real concern.
I'm happy to bring that to their
Yeah,
attention.
But, I agree with Jack that I think that if we feel that it's not to our advantage to not allow this, then I don't think we're going to be particularly altering the business plan. They'll probably just have to have a couple of vehicles and boats and campers removed. And they might think it'd be a blessing. So this is not their main business.
Yeah, but if they weren't interested in having them, why would they bother planning?
Probably in favor of the court.
Are there any vehicles or campers or anything parked in the lot now?
I don't know.
Yes, there are.
Jack, you said over the last couple of months it has quieted down.
Yeah, it has quieted down. The people who are sleeping there are no longer there. And that was really the main concern.
Right. And they are aware of that.
Yeah,
They told me that.
yeah. I mean, there was somebody who was living in one of the back of the truck there at one time on a regular basis. This was about a year or two ago. It's one of those kind of locations that's sort of like a magnet to those kind of things. So,
Yeah, considering the fact that you're not involved, but you do look over the fence.
yeah,
Do you have a problem looking over the fence and seeing the boats in it?
I don't see them. I have woods behind me, so I don't really. None of the neighbors really see them because there's a buffer zone between that business and the. One of my neighbors did complain because a big high truck was there. They could see it from their backyard, and they just,
Right.
thought it to be unsightly.
Well, they also told me that they know that some of the vehicles were uncovered, and they indicated that they're going to make sure that everything is covered in accordance with the original permit.
I think I'd favor short leash only because if it is a new, there's a manager there, but I wouldn't go 2 years, maybe 6 months or something, and then kind of see what happens in 6 months or something like that.
But we retain the right to revoke it at any time, or can we write that in? And then if things don't go well, we can revoke it.
I mean, any permit that you grant, there could be a claim to a sort of property right and a vested property right. So when you have the terms set forth and the person doesn't abide by those terms, then you can revoke it and say, it's a defensible action that the court can take. That's why you set forth the terms.
One of the things that, would the board be willing to consider limiting the height of the vehicles or the boats? Is that an issue, Jack, or is that?
It really isn't an issue. I mean, it was on one vehicle. It was a truck that was pretty high, but I haven't had that complaint.
Also here, it does state that the stored vehicle must be fully screened from view.
Yeah, that's,
So if that
yeah.
is complied with, then that shouldn't be.
Yeah, it should be, you know, it shouldn't be higher than the fence or whatever, for those kind of things.
The core objection, as I recall, back a ways, was people living there.
Yeah.
Right? And now it's winter, and even Billy's had one there, you know, 'cause it's too cold. But, so, you know, if we give a 6-month permit, that's gonna cover the winter.
But what is the cost of the special permit, the application fee?
There is no cost.
The board can certainly establish that, but
No, I'm,
it doesn't
well,
talk
I'm
about
just,
it.
you know, so it doesn't matter, how short a period we make renewal as far as
Refee.
a fee of having to reapply, other than the council.
Any other comment from the public? Mr. Roger?
John Bojack, 8 Johnson Street. Mr. Ferb, I'm in total agreement with your position. I think it's a quality of life issue. I think the owner should be here. I think that's the minimum requirement. You're hearing all sorts of promises, but the owner is not present to vouch for them. I think you need to see that individual, whoever he is, and judge for yourselves whether he's being sincere. Waiting a couple weeks, I don't think is going to matter much for this business. They've waited a long time as it is. At their own volition, they've let this lapse. Let them come here, let them present themselves. You're totally right. We have too much of doing something and then seeking approval later while the neighbors are imposed upon. That's what's happened apparently. In this case, the solution I think is exactly what you proposed. Let the owner show up.
Any other comment from the public? Comments from the board?
Well, yeah, I would, you know, as we're talking here, I would suggest a short period of time, just to see how the new guy does and how he complies with the permit. And then review it, you know, have another review after, maybe make it 1 year. But, you know, I would keep vigilant on what's going on there, and if he's in violation.
Based on Trustee Crow's comments, thoughts about reserving decision until we have the manager? He's not a he's a manager, correct?
Correct. Would you want the manager of the facility here or the manager of the,
Who's ever in charge, who's ever making this application?
okay.
Now, wait, are you representing United Storage as a corporate entity, or United Storage as, because you're coming out of Lexington Avenue in the city?
Right.
It's quite a distance from 257 Waverly Avenue.
It's a nice train ride. Yeah, it's the corporate entity.
You represent the corporate?
Correct. Well, which is now, there's a CubeSmart is the corporate entity, which is now taken over, and that's the new entity. So that's who we represent.
Okay. Well, then we'll make a recommendation to this board that you represent them on December 10th again, and have whoever the manager is at this facility, be at this meeting at that point in time. See a motion to reserve decision, Clark?
At the time of the permit, it was the local managers who came to address the board.
Okay.
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Abstain.
So December 10th, we're gonna rehear it, or reopen
No,
this?
but it's closed. The hearing's closed?
No, I want to hear from, I want to reserve this.
The manager of the property.
Yeah, property, I mean, That's who you want to speak to, right?
Person who's responsible for.
Yeah, I'm still not clear if you want to speak to the manager of the 257 property
Yeah.
or someone from the corporate, the main
No,
corporate.
no,
Guy from Waverly Area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoever has an impact on the day-to-day operations.
Okay.
Who's Jack gonna go talk to when he walks around? He's not gonna accept.
Whose telephone number are we giving the code?
Okay.
There's pretty good turnover, maybe you might speak to the boss.
Is there,
Who owns, well, Cube Smart owns it, right? You know, is it a franchise? No.
How does it work? They own, the corporate owns that business there, and they hire a manager just to take care of it.
That's my understanding.
I'd like to see
So there could be
both.
another manager in 6 months there.
Yeah.
If the manager could come too, the guy who unlocks the door every day, so he understands the situation also.
Well,
That's who I-
you want to see, right?
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
thought
what I'd
you.
like to see, yeah.
His name is Nick.
Yeah, have Nick come in.
Okay.
I think it's Nick.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
so December 10th?
Yes, sir, next.
5 o'clock.
Second hearing tonight, notice is hereby given that a public hearing be held on Monday, November 26, 14 Baker Street, Patchogue, New York, by the Incorporated Village Board of the Incorporated Village of Patchogue, to amend sections 415, 25, 26, and 27 of Village Code to clarify the enforcement of metered parking, copy of which proposed local law is on file at the office of the village clerk. At said public hearing, any person interested will be given the opportunity to be heard.
Anything others? Speak this away. As we move towards the possibility of metered parking, better possibility of metered parking, we have within our code a section already outlining the operation of parking meters as they were for about 40 years and 50 years in the village prior to them being taken out. And this is just beginning to clean up some of that language and adding new language to clarify the responsibilities and the rights of the person putting it in, and our responsibility as far as enforcement.
Can I ask, Paul?
Yeah.
Why, it looks like we're doing sort of a piecemeal modification of this legislation. It's got a nickel and dime.
I saw that just now. I read through it.
You know, it's, I see where, you know, we're taking out a paragraph that deals with maximum time being 12 hours, and that's the only substantive change in the code, so. But certainly, I mean,
You know,
the nickel and the dime, it doesn't sounds pretty good, but we're not gonna make 300 grand on nickels and dimes.
I agree with Tom, you know, this
Yeah,
is,
pull it
this
back.
is the revision that we should look to crystallize as we get, you know, closer to the possibility of what the meters would look like, what we would be charging, if there's any sort of grace period, or, you know, just so it could be clearly defined in the code, so it might be a bit premature to make these revisions at this point in time.
I'm gonna agree with you, Jack. I think it's a little premature at this point.
yeah. Just withdraw. Motion to withdraw.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. You know, the last several meetings, we talked about the possibility of changing the meeting time. It was early as, we talked about 5 o'clock, 5:30, possibly 6 o'clock. One of my concerns is that, yes, we get people coming to the meeting, but it's normally the same people. We always talked about open government. How do you get open government? When it's the same 24 people at every single meeting, that tells me that maybe either the time we're doing it or there needs to simply some substantive change to make the time more available to others. What we'd like to propose is that we move the meetings earlier. Give people who are on their way home from work, they can come to Village Hall and be home with their family by 7:30, 8 o'clock, instead of coming, go home, come back, and get home at 10:30 or 10 o'clock, and then have to be up the next morning at whatever time. I would imagine there's probably not many people in this room that are up after 7:30 in the morning, and probably, most of you are probably up by 6:30 in the morning. So what you're doing is you're putting a 14-hour day in. If we can cut that 14-hour day down by two or 3 hours, by making ourselves available earlier, at 6 or 5:30, and I think Gloria and somebody else had mentioned, the 5:30 seem to.
Yeah, 5:30 is a little too early.
6 o'clock is probably.
Starting at 6, we'd then be out of here by 8:30, 9 o'clock. In some cases, 8 o'clock. And people can go home, get their part of the business. If they're here for a public hearing starts at 6:15. By 7 o'clock, they're on their way out the door, on their way home. Again, it's about, I keep hearing this thing, open government, allowing more people to be here, giving people more of an opportunity. If when you get home and your family's there and you sit down at dinner, your opportunity to leave probably shrinks very quickly, and you need to. But where you know that you can come here immediately, you might get a different, but a larger group of people coming and participating. But it is all about participation. It's about opening ourselves up to the public and making life a little bit easier for everybody. Discussion by the board before break.
6 p.m. is, I think.
No, I had an email from Ms. Pendergrass, and she was, made a good point about people picking up their children at home, for home care and class 6 o'clock. I remember Cub Scouts was over at 6 o'clock. I think that, I think that's a good time.
Because what normally happens too is that then we could move if we need be, and we see how it works. You could move the public hearings a little bit later into the meeting if it seems that people aren't getting their time for the public hearing portion of it. But it does give us the opportunity to hopefully get a larger participation than we get. Any comments by the public?
Lauren Prendergast, 41 Cedar Grove Street, Patchogue. I sent a few emails today to a couple of the trustees. My feeling about the whole situation is most people that commute don't get home before 5:30, 6 o'clock
Right.
at the least. Picking up kids after school, childcare, after school care, they want you there before 6 o'clock to get your kids. People stop on the way home to do their errands, especially with gas prices the way they are. Traffic's become horrendous since Sandy. They closed eastbound Ocean Parkway. It's increased, I know my commute, by almost a half an hour. The public hearings, I think it's a good idea that times get assigned so that if somebody has an issue and they want to come to the meeting and speak about it, they'll know what time it's going to happen. And again, I think it's been also discussed about maybe the public to be heard portion being moved closer to the beginning of the meeting.
There's a reason that it's not. Because many times, many of the questions are answered during when we go around the board. So therefore, it gives us the opportunity to answer many of those questions. Can you hear it? Mm-hmm. Many times we will hit those points where somebody was going to get up to the public. Allowing the trustees to speak first many times clarifies some issues that people have when they come in. So I'm a firm believer of it having it at the end, because it also then gives you the opportunity to hear the issues as they go. If you did the public to be heard prior to the trustees, and after that, if there's something in what the trustees speak about, you're not gonna get the opportunity to speak to it, because you've already had the opportunity to speak.
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it could go either way. I don't know if there's,
I've done it both ways.
okay.
I've done it both ways. And I think, Peter, we used to do it at the beginning, and you would spend all this time at the beginning to answer all the questions at the end. When many of the questions get answered by the trustees, and we're not gonna have two publics to be heard, we're not gonna have one of them.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, if you have a question, something that's one of the trustees, we're not going there.
Okay.
Okay?
What about possibly considering every other week to see, for a trial period, to see how the meeting, what the attendance is like, especially through the holiday season? I think your attendance is gonna be diminished anyway.
We only have one meeting in December.
Okay, one.
Well, I
Well,
think
I mean, could we do one at 6 and then the second one at 7:30 like it's always been? I mean, give that a try for a trial period of time, it's kind of a compromise.
my only concern is it becomes this, probably just sort of, I think it becomes, is this the 7:30 one, or is this the 6 o'clock one? If we do it for a period of time between now and April 1st, when we do our reorganization meeting, we can reset them at April, because we do a reset in April anyway, when we go through the reorg. So you're looking at 4 months, we'll see what kind of response we get.
So that's fair. I mean, so
Yeah.
your answer is that you would
Oh, absolutely,
try it till April and see how it goes.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's
That's, for me, that's the easiest way to do it. And I think it's the fairest way. It gives us the opportunity to get into a rhythm and pattern. If the rhythm and pattern doesn't work, we go back to where we were.
That's fair. Thank you.
Josephine Miller, 276 West Avenue. I agree with Lorraine, most people don't get out of work at 5:30. And even if they do, you know, not every resident works locally. Some people aren't even getting off the train until 6:30, 7:30. I'm not sure that the time of the meeting is what's, you know, causing no participation or very little participation. I can only say that, you know, in terms of open government, the responsibility is on the residents as well as the board. So I'm not sure anything that the board does about time would really change that. I agree with you that the public be heard should be at the end, because sometimes you come with nothing to say and then you hear something and you want to speak up. So I would say we should leave the time the way it is and maybe limit, on the public be heard section, limit it to 5 minutes so that people can get out of here at a reasonable hour. Not always possible. I didn't hear what you said.
Jerry said maybe we can do both.
Okay, right.
Yeah, if I asked the people to raise their hands here, how many got off a train? I don't think there's anybody here that get off.
I get off the train.
You get off a train?
Every day?
One?
No, I think
Good
there
part
are
of it.
people, I think there are people who get off the train.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but they're not here tonight
No,
at 7:30.
right.
My point is that.
Well, I mean, that's my point, you know, that the onus for public participation is not here, simply changing the time. The public has to take some responsibility to participate
Absolutely.
too. So that's, you know, my feeling is we should leave it the way it is, but if you're gonna try it until April, you're gonna try it till April. I don't know if there's gonna be a public be heard. I want to ask them questions about the theater, so maybe that's for after.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to change.
I'm sorry. Greg Powers, 252 Bay Avenue. I think 6 o'clock would be too early. I think at the minimum, maybe 6:30. I think last time you had it at 5 o'clock, the attendance was 3 people were in the room. Tonight we have certainly a lot more people here than you did before, and I don't think you're going to have an increase in attendance by having it earlier. I think
I just, I'd like to give it a shot at 6. The worst that happens, we go back the other way. I mean, this thing is cast, time is cast in jello, it's not cast in stone.
Yeah, I just think it's just, I think most people, if they get home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock would be a stretch to get here. They still have to commute home, and then have to get here.
Well, I'd say I would have more of a tendency just to come right here. Because as soon as you step your foot in the house, the chances of coming out diminish probably exponentially.
Right.
And I think that that's what happens to a lot of people. They have all the intention of coming, they walk in the house, whether it's the kids, whether it's dinner, whether it's something pleasant, or whether it's, that things aren't going.
It would be more likely somebody with kids that go straight home, take care of the kids, and then if they have time, they would go to the board meeting after. I don't think it would be.
If they have time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Importantly, we're really not talking about a change until January, because the next meeting is on December 10th.
Right.
And we're having the next meeting at 5 o'clock so that board members can go honor Trustee Devlin at her Woman of the Year.
Pending a blizzard.
Unless we have a hurricane or another event. So, we're talking about the first part of next year.
It's really only 6 meetings.
6 months.
6 meetings.
What's 16?
It would be 6 meetings for the 6 o'clock time before April.
Just figure it out, yes.
Public comments?
Sure.
Thank you. John Bojack, 8 Knoxon Street. Mr. Mayor, I've been sitting at my seat. I'm trying to figure out what to say to you. I have difficulty responding to your comments. First of all, I want to say you're entitled, of course, as the mayor, and the board is entitled as well to do what it wishes, and this plan may work, and actually I hope it does if that's the case. But I don't think it's the whole answer to involving the public. In fact, if anything, I think your administration has been pushing in the wrong direction. Starting with the fact that we have minutes that exclude public comments. That occurred during your administration and recently in the last couple of months. The public here has been asking for videotapes of these meetings. Again, you've been in opposition to it. That is not encouraging of the public. This is being done by a private group. Mr. Mayor, may I finish my comments?
Because what you're speaking to is not in reference to the resolution we have. We have the public to be heard at the end. You can complete this.
And you know what? And this is another point too. No. This is the public portion, Mr. Mayor.
It is not the
public portion that you want to hear.
This is not the public portion.
It's not the public portion. We're debating the resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's about the resolution.
I thought you invited public comments.
No, public comments about this resolution.
Correct, and it is about this resolution.
It's not about this resolution.
Sir.
Absolutely is not. Excuse me.
You raised a rationale. I'm responding to the rationale.
No, excuse me. Bring it up. The public to be heard if you do not like the way that put forth. This is about changing the time of the meeting till 6 o'clock.
Correct. And I'm responding to some of your reasoning for it. That was my response. You're not appreciative of it, that's fine.
But it has nothing to do with cameras. Bring that up.
It has to do with the culture of involving the public in this process of democracy in this village. That's what this has to do with.
Please bring it up at the proper portion of the meeting.
Well,
I'm asking you that.
I believe I have.
Thank you.
We're in disagreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Run for the seat, you can do it the way you want to do it. Excuse me. Okay, one other thing.
Yeah, just one. It wasn't very nice. I wanted to know, how did I know, Trustee Ferb, you said you were going to put it on Patch. I didn't see it on Patch, but Facebook, how did we make out with the Facebook, the response of the people? Like, I was reading it quickly today, and I think Jack's wife didn't like the 5:30, but how did that come out? How did the count come out?
I would say there were maybe 6 people who commented other than Jack's wife, and all of whom
It was mixed from what I.
All of whom attend these meetings, I knew almost every person.
Yeah, I know Mary comes from the city.
Mary
She
comes
was
from the city.
that.
Lori wasn't that fond of the idea. You commented. John, did you comment on Facebook? Yeah. I would have to say that most of the comments were to leave it at 7:30.
Does that have any? Does that hold any weight with anybody? If people
No,
that do
it's
attend?
It's Facebook.
You believe everything on
Yeah,
Facebook?
really.
Well, I don't do Facebook. I only went on Facebook because Lori said we had a Patchogue. I'm
No, I
not on
said I would
Facebook.
put it on Facebook because so
Right.
many people are on Facebook.
Right, but I mean, did that hold any water? Weight, whatever?
I don't even read the
I'm
Facebook.
scientific.
Well, I just went on it because I know this was gonna be said. That's all the reason I was on it myself, but
Well, I think it's taken
If-
under as much consideration as any of the public comments that we hear here. It doesn't have more weight or less weight.
I think it has more weight when people use their real names and not use anonymous names.
Facebook?
All real names.
On like other things like the patch or things like that. I think
Well, we're not talking about that right now, we're talking about
you
this.
mentioned the patch.
Because last meeting, Trustee Ferb said he was gonna put it on the patch, and I went out looking
No
for it on the
offense,
patch.
patch.
I did, but it's up to them to be contacted, they're not just gonna post it, and that's what I said, and also Facebook was mentioned, that's why I'm directing it to Lori about Facebook. So, you know, that's why I'm asking, because it was said in the meetings, in the
I just
minutes.
didn't get around to it.
Okay, no, that's not a problem, I just was looking for a statistic
I
on
would
that.
say that
that's
those
all.
comments on Facebook have as much weight as your comments here.
Okay, so there was about a handful of people that didn't,
Folks, this is not life and death. We're gonna change the meeting to 6 o'clock in 3 months, and if it doesn't work out, we're gonna change it back.
right, that's what we decided, that's what the mayor decided tonight, which is fine.
I mean, come on, we spent half an hour figuring this out. I wanna go home and watch.
Yeah.
What do you watch?
Yeah, the point that she's making is a good one, and John as well, is that the whole thought of publicizing this change was to get an initial input from our residents and constituency that we serve, and whether they think it's a good idea or not, I think it should carry a lot of weight, because if we're looking to encourage a greater participation and a greater attendance to these meetings that we're holding, you know, I think it should be publicized in a way in which we can get some input. You know, if everybody says that it's not a good idea and we make this change, and you know, it would be a test, but it'd be something that we might be sitting in a room that would be not as well attended, so.
And that's really the point of really putting the time limit on it. By putting that time limit on it.
Until April.
It's like, well, then turn around and say, wait a second. I mean, I say till April. If by mid-February into March, we're sitting around by ourselves at 6 o'clock, you know, we can make the change then. It can be made by motion, because this is by resolution, it's not by, you know.
I actually have all the comments here.
How many are there?
There's 11 comments. The first person's in favor, the next person is not, the next person's in favor, the next person after that's in favor, the next person after that thinks their father would like it better. And he is someone who attends these meetings and comments. The next person is not in favor. Jennifer Krieger dislikes the idea. Then not in favor and not in favor. So I would say it's kind of split.
How many people?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9.
I mean, there's other ways to advertise.
Yeah, I
this
mean,
than
if we're
just
gonna
the-
do, I think if we're gonna do that, I think we should get the opinion of more than 9 people. Many of whom probably are sitting in this room right now. I would guess.
But if we're gonna, granted, I don't read the patch every single day. I do try and get information from it, but if we were to publicize it on patch or in the advance that we're considering this change, and please contact your village officials if you think this is a good idea or not, we might get a better response than just throwing it out on Facebook. I don't,
Facebook is not the best way to do these things.
Yes, there was something in advance about it. Yes.
In a legal
More
notice
comments.
or in a?
No, because it's a resolution.
Hold on a second.
Okay, Josephine Miller, 276 West Avenue. So you're asking people a question, are you in favor of changing the time? Okay, maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe we should ask the question, why don't you attend village board meetings? And what changes would have to be made for you to participate more. Maybe we should broaden it a bit. Because if we're asking them only do they want the time changed,
Well,
that's all we're asking them. We really want to know why people don't come.
Right. I described it in the context of the way that Paul expressed it at the last meeting. In other words, would you find it easier if, and this was our thought process. So that was more the way the question was. It wasn't just like, oh, we're thinking of changing the time, what do you think?
Okay, but that's still a direct question about the time. Why not ask people why they don't come? They might say the time, or they might say it's boring, or they might say who feels like sitting through all that stuff, or you might get some other answers, and then you can ask what changes would have to be made for you to participate. And I think that would be more informative than saying, would you come if we change the time? Because it might not be the time at all. I mean, we really don't know exactly why.
I've sat in this room for the better part of 20 years. 8.5 of them as mayor, and 16, yeah, total of 16, almost 18 years. And this is about the size we always get at 7:30. It hasn't changed. It changes with issues. It changes somewhat with the season, because the season a lot of time brings people out with a lot of different questions. From the good side of recreation to the ugly side of too much noise. All of those different reasons. But it's normally between, David, what's different?
I would agree that this is about your average.
This is about the average. You sat there for 4 years. And so, since 1986, and David can bridge the time when I wasn't on the board to the time he was on the board. This is about what we get at a 7:30 time. So that's one of my reasons, is I keep thinking back over the years. It didn't matter whether it was Whitey Lewandowski as the mayor, whether it was Steve Keegan, whether it was Ed, or myself, or the board, or the different people that are here, or the issues that come up. Village board meetings many times are issue driven to get somebody to come back out at 7:30. It's not driven by anything else except, people always say, when in doubt, you go with your own self-interest. When in doubt, you'll come in for your own self-interest. And I think that if you move it, you may be able to get some people just because they have the opportunity. And they know that I got to be up at 5:30 in the morning because I go to the city on the 6:30 train, and I can't get home at 9. They don't make the effort to get here, knowing they can get home by 7:30. That's just it's a sense. If I could say to you, Mr. Miller, that it was different in the 80s, in the 90s, or when David was there, but it's just the way it's been. I bet you, Town of Battle does stays at 10:30 in the morning. Town Islip does them 3 in the afternoon.
It's 5.
Brookhaven starts at 5. So it's not uncommon for those boards to be at different times. And that's why we moved it to 5:30 or 6, to get us closer to where we were, but a little bit farther away from that later hour. So that's...
I'm not suggesting that we've had better attendance in the past. I know exactly what you're saying. This is about it. However, I think we should try, to increase public attendance.
Absolutely.
And I know that's what you're trying to do. I'm merely saying we don't really know whether it's going to increase public attendance or not, but we should try to get some more information. We might ask people. We have nothing to lose by asking people why
Not at all.
they don't come, or what would have to change for them to come.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
That
saying.
can be done currently while we do the change, and see whether we get more people. Put that out.
Thank you.
I would just like to comment on this, and I always use this as an example. We have a budget hearing every, what month do we have a budget hearing? April. Every April we have a budget hearing. Probably, how many people show up for the budget hearing?
Well, the first 6 years,
Nobody. 1, 2 people show up. And that's the one thing people constantly are talking about. Taxes and budget and spending and this and that. We get maybe 2 or 3 people show up for that. But When we decide to put feral cats in a cage and send them out of town, we get 100 people here. It's issue driven. It really is. It's my backyard. If something's going on that affects you, you're going to come to the meeting. I see it all the time. I've been on this board for nearly 9 years, and we see it. When we went to close the crab shack, we had people out in the hallway. When we talked about feral cats, we had people jumping and screaming. But on a regular basis, I see the same familiar faces, and all the people here who come every week, like Mr. Bojack and Wayne and David and Don and Frankie and Mark and Josephine, if you walked out the door, it would be very few people here. And I think that, as Lori said, there were 11 people who responded on Facebook, and how many people do we have on there? 6,000 followers. 11 people decided to respond to that. That's not a very good number. And I think there's an apathy out there of people to spend their Monday evenings at a board meeting. And as you said, Josephine, some of it might be boring. Many people here find it interesting. But, there's a great many people who don't find these things extremely interesting. So that's all I have to say.
Just a comment. I would argue that you shouldn't measure participation in government by the head count at these meetings.
No, not at all.
When the feral cats are here, it's issue driven, totally. But with social media now, with Patch, with the local newspaper, and with our Facebook page and the village website, we have, I don't know how many thousand hits a month, but we have 6,000 people on the Facebook page. And it was a really important vehicle during Sandy. Communication that went out on the Facebook page was unprecedented. It really unprecedented.
I agree.
Lots of people looked at that and to get information about what was going on. So I'm glad you all come, because it would be really bad looking at an empty room.
Now, I have another question. I don't want to belabor this too much longer. The Patchogue Patch has how many readers? I know that you guys don't reveal that.
Can't reveal that.
But it's quite significant, I would say, in the Patchogue area. I would say that a large
whatever the population is.
Okay, so you have a large population who visit your website. The Long Island Advance has about a 10,000 circulation, and we have 6,000 people on our Facebook.
We're in the
6,000.
fives. We're in the fives.
Each of those outlets publicizes the meetings on Monday night, correct?
Oh, and not always on Facebook.
So not always on Facebook. The Patch does put the agenda up on a regular basis, and so does the Advance.
As well as the village website.
As well as the village website, Newsday does. So you're figuring a great many people in this area are aware of this board meeting tonight. Not everybody comes home at 7:30 late. Not everybody drives the train into the city. Not everybody has kids. Not everybody has problems getting out of the house. That's a pretty significant amount of people who aren't coming to this meeting. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate situation. That's the way it is.
Jack, I wouldn't say it's unfortunate. It's just how it is.
But it's unfortunate, Tom. It's, if people...
You have a hot issue, you're going to fill this room.
Of course, but these people come without hot issues.
Well, they care about government.
Because they care. They care.
David?
David Kennedy, 325 South Ocean Avenue. First, personally, we should leave the time alone. I barely get here at 7:30 as it is. As you see, I always get here late. I know you can't just make those decisions on one person being here, not being here. And I'm sure me not being here isn't the reason, but I'm sure it's a fringe benefit for some of you that me not being here might be a good thing. But, a couple things too, just structuring of the meetings and ideas would be maybe having public hearings at one meeting and then the other meeting just for public to be heard. I do think there is a little bit of drag factor for new people that come in here and there's a public hearing going on about an issue that they don't understand or don't know about and they have to wait for a while. So that's just an idea. I mean, this could be restructuring things.
Did you guys do a work session? Did you?
Well, we never did. We never did. It was something we talked about, but we never had a work session. Maybe for like a short period of time, we did it. But which I mean, again, not to make your life more miserable than it can be, and the job as I know doing it. Certainly, if every Monday there was some kind of meeting, maybe things would be spread out a little bit better, and the meetings wouldn't be as long if they were more issue driven or issue focused. Maybe like, two meetings are just on public hearings, and then 2 meetings are just for public to be heard. So the public can just have whole 2 meetings. I think it would generate more dialogue, and be maybe more of an open forum, an open topic. I think people get scared. There is a lot of apathy. And a lot of it too is because they don't understand. They come in and they feel kind of lost when they get here, and they throw their hands up in the air. So, I mean, I think the message maybe that John and Maureen were getting to, and I understand, and I think this is a good discussion. I know we're kind of getting off topic here a little bit, but I think this is an excellent discussion that we need to do more of. You guys are kind of incumbent upon to really do what you can to drag that apathy. I was disappointed to hear a couple of you guys, I don't read the patch. I don't read the Facebook. You guys you have to, kinda. And to be honest with you, the perfect example, Jack, is your parking meters. It's an idea I personally support, but it's an idea that I think there was more discussion about it on the patch.
Where are those people?
But they still count. I know some people don't put their names up there and they don't count. But you guys should participate in that discussion on that patch.
All right, I'm not going to participate on a discussion on a patch and get a response from Joe No Name.
That's part of the deal, though. It kind of is. Unfortunately, you're gonna have people who are gonna be nasty and criticized. But you should participate in those kind of discussions. It brings it more than just at these meetings. There's only so much you can do in this limited time late at night at these meetings. And those discussions on the patch and on the Facebook are excellent. And I thought the discussion on the parking meter was better on the patch than it was in the room.
Exactly.
You're missing out.
I read every one of those.
You're missing out.
I read every one of those.
Participate in them.
But you know what? I'm not going to participate in a dialogue with somebody I don't know who I'm participating in a dialogue. You go behind that wall and disguise your voice and start participating in conversation. Are you going to participate in that conversation? Probably not. Where are those people? I wish they came to the meeting. I wish they participated.
It's 50-50 with some of that stuff on the patch. Some do, some don't. You don't have to respond to every comment, but there are good stuff there. I mean, the point is that these opportunities, when they present themselves, that increase the dialogue, even if you have to go through the muck a little bit, we need to encourage that more. And you'll soon dilute that influence. If more of you guys participate in those kind of discussions, you're going to dilute the influence of the no-name, anonymous naysayer that says stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm not going to argue this.
No, exactly. Because
it can go on forever.
But anyway, leave the time at 7:30 so I can get here, please.
Well, there's something that hasn't been said. There's something that hasn't been said is maybe people are pretty happy within the house that they live on, the block that they're on, and the place that they consider home. And that you can ask Patty. They must get 40 calls a day, but people asking a question that they could come and ask here, but they get the answer. Either whether they call here, or they call the building department, they call the recreation department. They get the response that they want. So that maybe the issue isn't people not participating, people not having a reason to come. You gotta have a reason.
It's the happy people you want to participate more. It just works better when there's more people participating.
You're 100% correct. But when I stepped off the board in 94, with a kick in the ass on the way out the door, I maybe went to 2 meetings after that, just because there were issues, things that I wanted to hear something about. But I didn't feel the need because I knew, that I could get the answer by either calling Village Hall or talking to my wife and saying, you find out for this. But the community is small enough. I was uptown today, and I go up a couple times a week and just walk and talk to people. And you get I answer so many questions. The amount of phone calls I get on my cell phone, because half the world has my cell phone number. I think specifically for the issue that you're saying is the amount of the ability for people to get answers You know, I'll get my dozen or so emails a week from residents. I answer every single one of them. I get my phone calls from residents. People don't necessarily have to come here to get the answer to a board meeting. My thought is if we make life a little bit easier for somebody on their way home from work to just stick their head in here, maybe we get it different. Maybe we take a look afterwards, we say, you know, we're getting the same kind of numbers, but they're different numbers. Maybe we do. The first meeting of the month is at 6, and the second meeting of the month is 7:30. Maybe we go to that kind of thing. Or maybe we look to do what you're talking about. All public hearings at the second meeting of the month. First meeting of the month is we do the business of the village plus the public to be heard, but no public can be heard except during the hearings, you know. Those are all the options that we have. But one of the things might be if people just may be happy getting it home and not having any real issues that they feel, because people believe that you go to board meetings if you have issues, unless you're in Cape Town, it's a theater of the absurd. You know, people just go to scream at each other. Maybe that might be it, you know?
No, I agree, and I'd be one of the people saying most people are pretty happy with the village of Patchogue, and I'm one of them. But I'm also a believer in local government. The more participation, the better we all are. And you guys are in the best spot to really drum up and create that participation. And that's my one criticism I would have with you guys is that I don't see enough of that really drumming it up. I mean, you guys are out there, and I see you guys all the time. But I mean, a perfect example to me is just your response. I don't really read what's on the patch and stuff. All right, but still, when you see that, jump on it and use that as a way to encourage people. And I think when people get that more, they're more apt to participate a little bit more. And that's only my.
I have to take off, Mr. Mayor, but I just want to make one final comment.
I appreciate the discussion.
You know, maybe government and politics, or whatever way you want to call it, is like a spectator sport to some people. And, you know, some people don't like baseball, some people love baseball, some people don't like football, some people love football. Some people just don't like government, the process of government, and that's why they stay home. It doesn't interest them. They'd rather sit home and watch Walking Dead or, you know, the latest football game. And it's a sad thing. I wish more people came to these board meetings. I wish every seat out there was full. And public to be heard took 2.5 hours. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way because people don't care.
I don't, like I said, Jack, I don't think they don't care. I think
No, I'm not saying they don't care. It's just something that they're not involved in. Look, we have how many registered voters in the village of Patchogue? And how many people vote in the election?
The 5,500 registered voters, we had about 2,100.
2,100 people. That's not a bad number, but it's not a great number. I'm sorry.
What do you want,
such a good
before you leave,
concept?
let's make a vote on this thing. What do you,
In a motion to move the meeting until 6 o'clock. Starting at 6. Public hearings not to start till after 6:30. Motion?
You're subject to change at the reorganization in April.
Subject to change it to reorg meeting.
Second.
Who was the first? You're the first.
Motion. You're the first.
Oh, the first.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
And I apologize for
Oh,
leaving.
I'm sorry, I vote opposed.
Okay. Thank God, Bill.
What's that? Excuse me for that.
Okay, Dennis isn't here. George, are you
Again,
going
I
here?
have the lead, Kathleen Quinn from Irish Crossroads to speak.
Kathleen Quinn, owner of Irish Crossroads and secretary of the current chamber, Patchogue Chamber.
Welcome to you.
Excuse me?
Welcome.
Oh, I've been here before. Okay, I'm reading Gail's statement. We would like to thank the village for helping with Patchogue Cares. So many people have been so very generous. Patchogue is a very caring community. That's our statement. Tomorrow night, the Business Promotions Committee is hosting a chamber networking at Patchogue Printing, which is at 426 East Main Street, a Chinese auction to raise money for promotions such as Breakfast with Mr. and Mrs. Claus, which will be occurring from 9 to 11 at the middle school, on South Ocean this Saturday are one of our goals. We have to raise money.
What time is tomorrow night's act?
Tomorrow is from 6 to 9.
Where is it?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's going to be at Patchogue Printing. It's down by, it's 426
Yeah, I
East
know.
Main Street.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I want to read a letter that I wrote. Okay, as a merchant on East Main Street for over 5 years, I'm quite concerned about an increasing trend in destruction of property and abusive behavior that is occurring during the late night hours on Main Street. For several months, I have had trouble weekly with inebriated persons urinating in my doorway and vomiting on my front window. Okay, at least 3 times per week, I am cleaning beer bottles out of the planter in front of my store. And I arrive at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching people still drinking, putting them in there. Okay, I have had to replace my door frame in the spring, this past spring. I will soon have to replace it again because of the urination is rotting the bottom hinge. My mailbox has been ripped from the brick wall 3 times. It has been filled with vomit and urine. Last week I had to call the precinct because a drunk was attempting to enter my locked store while my daughters were redoing my Christmas window. And that was after 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, we have had to ask drunks to stop sleeping in our doorway so we could get out when we're working until midnight, because we rearranged the whole store. This week, 2 front windows of my neighbors to the west were destroyed because drunks were fighting over who cut who in line at the bar. Okay? This occurred at 3 o'clock Thanksgiving morning. Okay? I'm very emotional about this because I have a serious concern here. Okay?
As do we.
I came here 5 years ago, very impressed with the plans for the revitalization and for the future of Patchogue. I can't say that I'm enamored with that idea anymore because the danger is, everybody was, oh, it's improving, it's improving, it's improving. It's not. It did it great for 4 years, and now I'm going here. And my light lease is up 1 year from now.
I agree with you 100% on what you're talking about.
Okay, I need to know that we're working on this, that there's going to be a solution in the near immediate future. And
We're in contact with Suffolk County PD on a regular basis. I will bring their concerns, your concerns back to them again. We'll meet with them again this week because we really need to corral us. And
I was never afraid for 4 years. And I don't work, maybe I work twice a month into like the late hours.
I understand.
But when I walk out and I'm like going,
Your window
please,
looks fantastic.
oh, thank you. Please, get out of my, and they're telling me, the drunks are literally there going, I want in, I want in. I'm terrified. And if I'm terrified, my younger daughters are.
Does Jimmy Sarno's video surveillance span your side of the sidewalk there?
No. The reason I'm a great candidate is I have the brick wall that comes out a little, so they can hide
They can hide in that
and
little-
go and
Just
do their
the
business.
store tips back.
Yeah, so I mean, I can put cameras in there, but I've also had, the people that were here last 2 weeks have been putting up their hoods. So even if I had a camera facing down, I would have gotten their hoodies. I wouldn't have gotten faces. Code is great, Fifth Precinct is great every time we've called, but it's not good enough at this point. I need reassurance that something's gonna get done.
The thing that I can reassure you is that we'll do everything in our power to straighten out because it doesn't bode well for any of us. It doesn't bode well for you, the merchant, it doesn't bode well for us sitting here. It doesn't bode well for the residents. I understand that.
Well, I will tell you,
It's
on
truly my biggest frustration.
Friday, because there's a big blue tarp on the vacant store next to me, everybody who came in wanted to know what happened, because there's still blood splatters on the floor from when they went through the window. And, you know, it's like, oh, somebody just was, you know, having a pushing and shoving match, and they kind of broke the window. But it's like, oh, really? I thought Patchogue was getting better.
I agree. I don't-
And, you know, you
wish I
sit
could
there and go,
disagree with you.
it's good, and in your heart, you're going like, I'm scared out of my mind.
Once 9 o'clock comes, 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all we have to say.
But thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. No? Get a hold of Peter and I'll find out how they're gonna fix that one.
Ricky's chicken.
Oh, yeah? They're great.
It's vacant, but the window's broken now, so all taped up. And
Yeah, Suzette.
the big wood to our farm.
Joe?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, good evening, everybody. DPW, not too much really report tonight, Mr. Mayor. We've been obviously still working on Sandy. We did, I think last time I mentioned that we're waiting on DOT to come down and help us remove debris from the yard. They did show and remove probably.
I saw them, oh my God, I saw
Yeah,
them
they
coming
came
out
each
with all
truck,
those
and that was
trucks.
about probably 20,000
Stuff.
dollars that they got out, so that was certainly a big help. The CDA report, I know it's been talking about the theater walkway. It looks like we are, after all, going to put that on hold. Sandy kind of messed up the contract that he's pushed back, like everybody else, and we all get into some of the colder weather, which probably wouldn't be a good idea either, so.
Good idea, approval from the county. Do that.
I'm sorry?
We need to get approval from, that's county money, not state money.
Yeah, but it's, we don't have to get approval to put on hold. Marion's working with them to make sure it doesn't affect our funding for next year. That was the one major concern we had. But, you know, with the storm and everything that's going on, it's been a little bit, you know, so we seem to think it's really not gonna hurt us a lot of money. Tonight, Mr. Mayor, I'm requesting approval for H2M to prepare a bid package for the design and construction for the replacement of the sewer line on Railroad Avenue.
I see you have another one. Are these lines, how old are they?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, the one on, yeah, the railroad avenue is clay pipe and small, and it's getting a lot more than this over the last couple of months, and we've had some issues down at railroad avenue, so I'd have to do it sooner rather than later.
And it's all to replace clay pipe.
Yeah.
And the second one, the sewer line on South Ocean, we're under a consent order to replace the pump station. Instead of replacing the pump station, we're gonna put a gravity line that goes in where that pump station is up by the Chinese restaurant, all the way down, hooking into the line from Art Space, the Art Space line. So that'll save us probably, I don't know, the pump station by the post office costs $1 million.
Yeah, it's a considerable savings. It was something
is.
that we hadn't, I mean, H2M kind of, I guess, the small talk with them kind of come up with that, so it's, we think we can do it that way without having to replace the pump station.
But some kind of health services that pretty much said to us, when I came into office, they said there were 3 pump stations we had to replace. We took care of the one on Oak Street, Oak Street, Maine, when we did the reconstruction of Oak and North Ocean. We did reconstruction of North Ocean Avenue. Obviously, we're doing one by the post office, and this is the last one that has to get done. So, and what it is, I want to get the bid packages together, take a look at the numbers as they come in, make a decision after they come in.
I'll second it.
So we're still on number 3, right? The design for Railroad Avenue, that's the motion, Jerry.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Request approval of H2M to prepare a bid package for the design and construction for replacement of sewer line on South Ocean Avenue, the mayor just explained. Motion.
I'll second it. And that's just from the.
Around the Chinese restaurant.
The Chinese
to-
restaurant.
Okay. And how long is that line? You know, any idea? To the art space you're talking about? Is that just a little stretch?
Yeah, just a stretch from there to where, or it's actually, it goes into the Copper Beach development where that manhole is there.
Right.
Comes out and goes into there.
All right, second.
All in favor?
Aye. Requesting approval for Mike DiStefano and Scott Welsh to attend a course given at Hofstra University at a cost of $375 each. It's an operator training course for the wastewater treatment plant. Larry's been through, we're trying to get as many qualified people as we can down there, and these guys are pretty ambitious about what they're doing.
Yeah, they're good.
You know them, they're good guys.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely guys. That's a motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's okay.
Thank you. Requesting approval tonight to amend an agreement as it relates to compensation with DPW Superintendent Joseph Dean to include federal and/or mayoral declarations of state of emergency and snow emergencies within the village. Agreement right now really pertains to just snow emergencies. This would be an expansion of it, I guess, to include Sandy, hurricanes, and this is, the federal declarations, obviously, that's reimbursable to us.
Right, so basically what it is at this point in time, the superintendent of highways donates the 24 hours that he put in, in overtime, where we would get reimbursed, as long as there's a declaration of a state of emergency, and there's a declaration of a state of emergency by the county, and I don't do it, the county does it, once the county does it, then we're reimbursable by FEMA. So basically what we're saying is we're giving him overtime that somebody else is going to pay for. But it really compensates for the work done and the hours put in. And he puts, during the course of this storm, I think he worked almost 2 straight days.
Joe cut his vacation short and was working, as you know, through phone messages with us and all the way back from Carolina. And came back today. Worked on the whole trip back, actually.
So this is an agreement with the position, not necessarily
With the
Joe.
position, yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
It's with the
Yeah, that's
position.
Right, yeah, if I would actually eliminate that name.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, just maybe a little on the light side, if I might.
I hope so.
Exactly. Since Thanksgiving, we've had Black Friday and Small Business Saturday, and today I think was Cyber Monday. So I'd like for the village to join that spirit of sales, I suppose. And so I'd like to offer, with the approval of the board, a drastically reduced rate on the rental rate of our bike lockers.
Is it free?
Now, wait a minute now.
Is it free?
Listen, I'm offering these lockers, now sit down, you're not gonna believe it. $12.50 a year. That's a 75% reduction. Go to Gap, they don't reduce things 75%. Best Buy doesn't reduce 75%. Village of Patchogue is reducing 75%.
Can somebody live in there?
$12.50 a year, a cup of coffee at Rose costs twice that.
So does it have internet?
Oh, God.
It's a Wi-Fi hotspot.
What about Facebook? Put it on Facebook.
I'll go for Patch, Facebook, they get all the access to all that, right in this bike lock. $1.04 a month for bike lock, or whatever, you can't ask for a better bargain than that, and this is the spirit of Christmas.
Where are these lockers? These lockers are located at the
Give
train
me
station.
$12.50, I'll tell you where the locker is. They're at the west end of Patchogue Station. There is, by the way, a $40 key deposit, which we could probably.
Is there anybody in any of them besides your body?
Well, no, not that we know of, there's nobody in any of them.
Is it the location? It's just.
We have signs up at the station directing people
God.
and like the lockers are available. So we've advertised bike lockers through the advance, through the website. In a world that I thought was so looking to be so physically fit, nobody wants to ride a bike anymore.
Why bike to the train station when you can drive your car? Sorry.
I would take one, but I mean, it would be easier just to lock up my bike on a bike rack if you had one.
That's why we took the bike.
I know.
You can get off the-
I saw you right up,
You can get off that train at 5:54, get on the bike and be here for the 6 o'clock meeting.
There you go.
At any rate, Mr. Mayor, that's a motion. I expect tomorrow, Patty, your phone will be ringing off the hook with people looking to
Well,
take their
nothing would
bike.
make Mr. Lanning so happy.
Exactly right. So that's a motion. Anyway.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
So $12.50 for the year?
$12.50 a year. I've never offered a better bargain of money for anyone.
Why don't I make it just 12?
Well,
$1 a month.
Well, because we went from 50 to 25, so I couldn't figure out what percentage cut that we. Now it's a 75%. I figured that part out. Just $12. I wonder what kind of rate that was.
Now, are you allowed to store toxic waste?
No toxic waste.
Motion second.
We got a motion and a second.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have tonight. And do we have to request approval to change next December 10th meeting to 5 or 5:30, by the way? Do I have to be official?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
I think we did it for the first time.
Yeah, but we really did for the last one. So we're looking for 5 o'clock, Lori? Is that for just for December 10th?
Lori's event starts at 6:30.
It starts at 6:30? I don't have an invitation.
I won't be able to make it, I get off the train, like,
So the motion is to make December 10th meeting at 5 p.m.?
5 p.m.
Second, all in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Carried.
Nothing for this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Ferb, Thomas.
Thank you. Just a quick minute, I want to congratulate the village on the grand parade, Christmas. This is my first time at the Christmas parade. I was really impressed. It was fabulous. And New Village is on schedule, and anybody who drives down Waverly Avenue, you can see what's happening with Riverwalk. All the developments are coming along fine. That's all I have.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, everybody. I'll be equally brief. Just a reminder that on December 8th, the Patchogue Arts Council has a wine and cheese fundraiser from 5 to 7:30. It's at the Patchogue Arts Council Gallery.
What was it?
December 8th, it's a Saturday, from 5 to 7:30. There'll be wine, sparkling cider, a nice selection of cheeses. The artist whose work is on display right now, Robert Carter, who's a local artist, he will be there, and he'll be giving a little talk. His stuff's pretty neat, yeah. And come support the Patchogue Arts Council. It's $40 for one person and $70 for two. 5 to 7:30. That way, when it's over, you can go next door and see the movie.
And that's Friday night?
It's a Saturday, December 8th.
Thank you.
So spread the word. The Patchogue Arts Council doesn't have something that brings in regular money, so we have to keep doing these things. That's all I have for this evening.
Trustee Devlin, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I've gotten probably a half dozen phone calls about the tree that had to come down behind the library because of the fungus.
The tree behind the library had oak ball.
Right, that I know.
We'll replant the tree in the spring.
That's what I've been telling them, but I wanted to just be sure.
And we were afraid that the oak ball could spread to the other lovely oak trees back there, and that would be a real tragedy. And they're not infected, so things work.
If I told you I could get a 30-foot fully grown copper beech.
I don't know even if that's the right person to dig it up, though.
That would be almost.
I think that would be impossible.
Nothing.
Where?
Nothing is impossible.
I don't know how much it would cost to move, that's the problem. I don't even know. No, we'll talk.
Set somebody's off, go over this one.
It's kind of a-
So,
They're kind of sensitive, I've been told.
Lynn.
That's it.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor, trustees and guests. First of all, Saturday night, we had a tremendously successful Christmas holiday parade. I'd like to thank the recreation staff, Supervisor Maria Justicia Henderson and Luann Latagano they put it together, it was perfect. Couldn't have gone wrong. It was great. And this Sunday at 9 o'clock is the Toy Trot. It's a Kiwanis Club. It's a 5K race. It starts near the firehouse.
That's when it starts on Jennings.
Right. Starts in Jennings, goes up to around St. Joseph's, and comes back down. They moved it up 2 hours to get it done earlier because of traffic problems.
So come to start again?
9 o'clock this Sunday. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay. Last one, board. Trouble. Huh?
Don Rocksmith, 60 Common Street. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, board members, Patty.
Is there any coupon today?
I didn't check. You may recall, I'm sure Bill, you will, a couple of years ago, I was up here talking about the blight Saturday mornings. A few months ago, I was up and it came back. And I spoke about it and I thought it was going to be taken care of. It hasn't been. I do have some pictures like I did the first time, if anybody would see them. But this is just few. I don't know, you won't recognize any of these houses.
Stay out of my driveway.
I got an email yesterday from a private avenue resident.
And as I say, any street, you'll see this, this blight. So my thought is, I'll pick this up, unlike anybody else. And you'll see in my neighborhood, you don't see these because there's somebody picks them up every Saturday morning. I leave a few where I know they do pick them up themselves, but I clean up the rest. And I was thinking, it's illegal because it was taken care of the first time I brought it up. So,
There's a discussion on whether it's free speech or it's litter. A
well,
long time ago.
I think
I would be inclined to say it's litter.
well, if they place it on the porch is one thing, but they throw it, sometimes they come out of the bag and the wind catches them. Other times they get driven over and pounded into the dirt and then they get blown around. So I don't think we want this as a symbol of our village.
Get a hold, I'll have Peter get a hold of the guys for the last time, bring it back in again. And do what we do before. Just follow them around, give the guy violations for littering. Let them, you know.
You know, if the people pick them up, it wouldn't matter. But I mean, you can see what's laying
The
around.
first one isn't litter. When the first one stays there, now you're throwing it on top of it, now you're littering. You know?
Well, they drop them off at the vacant house next to me. It's pretty obvious there's no one living there.
The guy gets paid by paper.
Yeah.
Can't we just ban them?
No. Try.
It seems absurd.
Just
I
a
mean,
question.
I don't even want them. To me, it drives me crazy to walk out the door every weekend and pick up this piece of garbage and have to take it in the house and put it in the trash.
That's your punishment for not getting used.
Let's ask Dion.
I'm sorry.
So
I read Newsday online.
Doesn't get that. It's the non-Newsday
That's
subscriber, yes.
that's your punishment. They punish you for not getting the paper by throwing litter on your front lawn.
So are we saying that we can't do something
No,
about
what
it?
I'm saying is, Chris, mention to Brian, because Brian was here when we met with him last time, that what I want to do is set up a meeting with whoever they are to discuss this. We got it under control one time, we got it under control again.
Change the subject. The question about the drunks, is that kind of associated with one establishment?
No, because
No, it's up and down Main Street.
it's a major issue on every establishment.
There are two prime, actually three prime places that they flow out from. Those are the couple that we have to go under control. Our next door neighbor, and our across the street neighbor.
Yeah, that's not good. And the last thing, Joe, I know you've been busy, but anything going on with silly signs?
No. We can talk.
Don, do you have anything to report, being the fire truck coordinator for the Christmas parade?
No, I just hope Patty didn't catch the little problem he had.
No.
I took the audible and went with it.
No, the problem we had was, well, one problem led to another, was the Hagerman arrived with 13 pieces. Fortunately, not fortunately, but they had to leave because it was a fire in North Belport, but they came back. So we delayed the parade, but I followed them down and they got backed up in front of the brewery, so everything was fine. But he did a great job, I appreciate it.
No, I thought the flow was one of the best that we've ever had.
I heard it was shorter than usual.
I was home,
Someone
I
told
was
me.
in my house at 7:32.
Well, you know what we did this year, and it actually started last year, but really came to fruition. You know, where we've had like a marina, what do you call it, every radio station. We started charging them because they're advertising. You want to be in a parade, I don't know what it was, Bill.
$100.
$100. If you're gonna have a vehicle that has advertisement on it, it costs you $100 to advertise.
And you're for profit.
You're for profit. And that, you know.
Maybe you could
The
pick
radio, all the radio stations backed up.
Maybe you could pick the light with that. Is it in the budget?
So I also wanted to comment on the scout, the way you group the scouts, they're all in one group, like the
Yeah.
girls all march together and the boys, that was nice, rather than
Yeah.
dragging them along.
Yeah, and you know what, it actually, not lining up on West Avenue, is a lot better now too. Because it's much better to line straight up behind the parade on, in front of Briarcliff. And the lighting's a lot better too.
No, I thought it was,
Where do you put the fire trucks on
The fire trucks go right on them. They pretty much go right up the spur.
Okay.
And they line up from Bartlesville all the way to the circle.
On both sides?
No, just one side. We keep Northtown open from Lake Street.
Oh, okay.
Well, thanks for your time.
No, but nice job with that, Don, really.
It's only recent, they've been stopped for a while.
For the promise?
Months.
Already?
Months.
Here I am again, Lauren Prendergast, 41 Cedar Grove Street. I'd just like to ask about a response to the letter that we sent you from the Citizens Campaign for Open Village Government. Does anybody have a response? Because I didn't get a response from any trustee or the mayor.
That back in Yeah, that is.
no.
You're asking about our CAP response.
Yes, the letter that we had sent and.
You're asking about a response to your letter to the Long Island fans.
Well, yeah, that letter, and then where are we in the process of responding to that?
Okay.
So I sent this to whoever it was that sent it to me via FOIL, all of that today, all the information.
To who?
Whoever requested the FOIL, CC
Right.
something at net.
Right, but what I'm asking is,
Okay.
we've sent you the letter.
Okay, let
We
me
would just-
respond to you right now.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll go through the three pieces that go along with this. On August 24th, we received a letter from, dear Mr. Corsick, the treasurer. It comes from Stephen Hancock, Deputy Controller, Division of Local Government and School Accountability, those that did the audit. And there's a lot of stuff here, but the line that's important. If you submitted a written audit response to this report, which we did on July 27th, and have indicated that it is also intended to serve as your cap, you do not need to submit another cap. When we responded, we didn't respond telling them that our July 27th letter was the response. So we have since sent to Mr. McCracken, I'll give you a copy of this for your records. And we respond to Mr. McCracken, indicating to him, Mr. McCracken is the chief examiner for the Division of Local Government School Accountability. And I'll read the first couple of sentences. In our letter dated to your office, July 27, 2012, please see attached. We responded to your audit findings and considered these responses to fulfill the requirement under the Corrective Action Plan guidelines, or your CAP. To be clear, we respectfully request that the controller consider the July 27th letter as our corrective action plan and allow this letter to supplement that response. All recommendations regarding capital projects will be implemented. All sewer system recommendations will be implemented as well. With regard to claims, we are evaluating the most efficient and effective manner of presentment of the claims to the Board of Trustees. I requested that the village attorney update and draft village policies. The policies are currently being reviewed by the Board of Trustees, the village clerk, and the village treasurer. Our vendor list will be updated and procedures for adding and deleting vendors will be put in place. Our target date for implementation of your recommendations is 90 days. Once again, we thank you and your audit team for diligently, and the audit team will diligently implement your recommendations as to the full fund hearing there. I will give you this. We received an email back from Mr. McCracken,
Yes,
acknowledging the receipt of it, and that this is considered like that. Would you like this?
Did you not send me that FOIL?
No, I did, but I didn't know what letter you were referring to. No, you sent me everything. No, you
So
did.
you have this?
I did, yeah, this is what I was, your follow-up to our request, because I was getting mixed information.
Because
I understand, that's fine.
yeah, this had been planned on going out, and then between hurricanes and things like that, things didn't. So actually, you reminded me that it had to, and it did. Thank you.
See, we work together. My second question is, the policy review committee, which you had instituted. Going back through meeting minutes and things, you had initially said that there were going to be 2 village employees, Attorney Egan, and then 2 residents. I know myself, I had sent in an application, and then I was told by Deputy Mayor Krieger that you can't have a committee of 1. A little disturbing because I thought you had a committee of 3 already formed looking for 2 additional residents.
So what we've done at this point in time is that all board members have gotten copies of policy for review internally. We're going to review those internally and then make a decision as to whether we go any farther than that. See what changes will or will not be made on those. Okay?
So you're
that committee is-
deciding to
put
now
that
abolish
thing-
that
Not abolish
approach?
it, put it over here for the moment. And let's take a look at, see what issues this board feels are pertain to the policies as written in the policy book. Okay?
Can I just ask what your reason for not following through with the original?
The reasoning being is I think I'd like to see the board take a look at it right now, the board itself.
Okay.
Okay?
So the residents, you don't necessarily care whether or not they're involved in the policy
No, I
review
do-
of the?
No.
I'm not, I guess I'm not.
You're missing my point, as I said to you, is we would take a look at them internally, and then make that decision afterwards to reinstate the committee as I proposed it.
So you're looking for top down, not bottom up?
But when, it's not even top down. Sometimes this is the bottom. Let the trustees that are elected by the public do the job that they were elected to do. Okay?
Okay.
And we're elected officials, you know? In a year and a half from now, if that opportunity comes up all over again. And in 3.5 years, it comes up again. But at this point in time, I'd like to get some responses from this board as to what the needs are within those policies, okay?
Okay, let me just take one more minute of your time.
Absolutely.
I'm beginning to feel like I'm taking this personally because I, on a number of occasions, for over a year now, have shown interest, submitted resumes, submitted letters of recommendation, and I have consistently not been responded to by you personally. You told me that you're going to contact me, talk about certain things. I even tried to get a meeting with you, and unless I outlined every possible topic I was going to talk about, you wouldn't meet with me. So I am beginning to feel like no matter what I do to try to be a part of, and not being one of the apathy participants, it's a blatant disregard for me as a resident, and I take it very personally.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Well, can you respond as to why I didn't get a phone call even to say you're not qualified, you don't have the experience we're looking for? Because as far as I know, when I emailed Attorney Egan speaking specifically to the Policy Review Committee, there was no outline, there was no plan, there were no qualifications listed, there was nothing. So it wouldn't have mattered if my 12-year-old niece signed up, she would have qualified. But because apparently only one person, myself, put in a resume, all of a sudden we can't have a committee of 1. If the United States Army can have an army of 1, certainly the village can accept 1 resident as wanting to get involved. Thank you.
Okay.
John Bojack, 8 Knoxon Street. I have one last question, and my favorite topic, the off-key tiki bar. Has Judge Asher signed the order?
I do not know that. That I do not know. Chris?
Yeah, I don't believe he has yet.
Yeah.
I'll take a look into it.
If you would.
Yeah, I like, the comment would be, we almost took more than 2 years for the judges here to reach a decision. I hope it doesn't take us 2 years for them to actually sign the decision.
Unbelievable.
Right. All right, thank you.
Any other comments?
My name's Gregory Wakis, and I'm the future resident at 7 Lager Lane.
As you may remember, I spoke with the board of, not the last meeting, the meeting before that, about my issues with getting a VA loan at the Riverwalk, and I was just wondering if there was any progress in it.
Can I get your current address?
Yeah, it's 2084 Foxglove, which is one word, Circle, Bellport, New York. So I was just wondering if there was any progress on that, if there's anything I can do, maybe we can get this on the agenda. We just had an hour debate on what time to have the meetings. I think this is something that's worthy of debate.
Great, well, you get a hold of the seal party. Why don't we meet with Mr. Regan next Monday?
Okay.
What time do you get to work at?
Let me check my schedule. Next Monday, I don't think I'm working.
What do you do?
Monday is the 4th. Actually, I work 3 to 11. I'm an air traffic controller at the New York In-Route Center.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Over here?
Ronkonkoma, right on the corner of Johnson
Do a
Avenue.
2 o'clock meeting?
1:30?
I could do, what, I'm sorry, say what time?
1:30? I mean, is it?
1:30 would be good. I work at 3, so, you know, as long as I can get over there by then. I actually took I had 8 hours of overtime today. I gave back 3 hours to be here. So, it's an important issue to me.
Next Monday, 1:30.
1:30, next Monday, the 4th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn. Second? Second.